Hello, everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4 test. Hello. Let me know in chat if you can hear me clearly. And also that you can see anything as well. Or let us know about any issues in the chat, please. Okay, great. I guess we can wait 1 minute and we will start. In the meantime, if you have any additional questions you would like me to go through, please let me know in the chat. And at the end of the presentation, we of course will go through all the questions you will post during the presentation. And if you might have any additional questions during some maybe slides or topics I will talk about, then please feel free to let me know about any questions or comments you might have. Okay, so let's start. So today I want to talk about product management for mostly for startups, but this presentation will be useful also, I do believe, for anyone else who is working in a startup or also anyone who is working in enterprise or in a bigger business, especially the one who wants to jump into innovation and maybe start working on your own startup in the future. And today we will talk about a couple of topics. First of all, of course, what is product management in traditional view and in my personal opinion. I also will talk about a bit business development and why it's important and why do we need to know this one and how it's related to product management. Next, we will go to product lifecycle, which is product process, which contains a lot of complicated steps. And of course, during this presentation, we won't have enough time to go deeply through all those steps and topics. My main goal for today, just to give you enough information, kind of top level picture, give you a big picture of product management fields and maybe how to become a product manager and how the process overall looks like. And maybe at some point later we can have next stream and go through specific topics within this process. Next, we're going to talk about what product managers do or don't do. If I will have time at the end, I will talk a bit about do you need a CTO, because some folks ask me this question and kind of often. Since my main background is in software engineering and architecture, I often have people coming to me and asking for some advice or why do I want to be the CTO or something like that. And after that, we will talk about VM statistics and trends and where we see all this is moving. And I can definitely tell you right now that product management is very exciting opportunity and is definitely in huge demand those days. And finally, we'll summarize all this, and I will give you a link to a starter plan with some tools and templates you can use if you plan to start your own startup or really optimize what you already are working on. So let's move to our first topic. So far, let me know if you have any issues or questions in the chat. So, first question, of course, is what is product management? And in traditional view, you probably have seen this graphic many times. In traditional view, product management is kind of intersection of business, tech, and design. However, in my humble opinion, something very important here is definitely missing, which is innovation. And instead of just PM, I want to clarify that two main responsibilities of any PM are enabling and collaborating. And all what PMs are doing are enabling innovation, enabling business development, enabling design, testing, user experience, enabling technology and engineering, and make sure that all those departments, different teams, different people are collaborating, working together. You have a team focus, and you are, let's say, paddling canoe through a Pacific Ocean into the same direction. So at the end, you will end up somewhere in New York City and not in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, for example. So, and innovation means a lot of things. Again, we're not going to go deeply into all those topics today. And innovation means open leadership and innovation-friendly environment, which is your culture. And you have heard the word culture, especially in startups, quite a lot in the last years. And yes, culture definitely matters. A lot of companies cannot innovate because they don't have innovation-friendly environment, which means diversity, empathy, challenging status quo, your leadership, adapting to situation. But most of all, of course, it's about learning and also coaching your team what you have learned. And usually, product department, product team, and especially product managers are responsible for pushing innovation forward and optimizing your processes. Of course, innovation also means following and exploring, following competition, following trends, what's new out there in the world, and it's also a bit about exploring, traveling, meeting new people, cultures, attending events, conferences, because at the end, innovation is basically a mix of ideas, but first you need to get somewhere those ideas eventually, so you can combine them together and maybe make something a bit better. You can, of course, optimize or automate or even introduce new business models or markets or even new technology or new design or user experience or processes. Of course, innovation is also about sitting in the lab and doing old school research, inventing stuff, running experiments and models. And if you are really, really tech savvy, innovation savvy startup, then you will have to work with scientists, engineers, universities quite a lot. Of course, it's also about ideas and feedback centralization and management. In my experience, basically every organization is suffering with feedback management. You have not just external feedback from your potential users, customers, partners, bug reports, new ideas. Everybody has so many opinions and ideas, and most of the opinions and ideas will come from your team and different departments, and especially your CEO and investors. And you want to make sure that you analyze all that and put all that into one place. So you don't need to find these different ideas from different team stakeholders in different places in different tools. And innovation time to time also means, especially when you introduce new technology or something new to the market, it's also about market education. It's also understanding that our market is ready, infrastructure is available, and timing is also critically important for startups. About market education, it also means not just maybe if technology already exists on the global market for maybe many years, let's say in North America, but average consumer, let's say in Asia, never heard experience with similar technology or a startup. In this case, you'll have not just to introduce, let's say, copy-paste idea from Silicon Valley, but you also have to educate local consumers as well in this case. Going next to the business, business means a lot of things, but most of all, PM works with community, public relationships, marketing, a bit of sales, and of course, customer success. And business also means a lot of other boring topics, usually at least mid-level PM doesn't care about, but if you're, let's say, chief product officer, there you will care about vision, mission, culture, cash flow, and all that stuff as well. Going next to design, design means, again, not like maybe many people and executives I might think it's just about painting beautiful stuff very fast and giving you like prototype. And unfortunately, no. First of all, design is about how it feels, how it works, the whole process and user experience, how your customer gets to a final destination from point A to point Z. And you always start with user experience research. For that, you have to have empathy to understand your customers, their pain points, behavior, their needs, and how you can help them succeed. It's about information architecture and designing user flows. It's about your branding, your colors. It's about also preparing graphic user interface kits, especially for your engineers, so they could find anything in the one place. It's, of course, about prototyping and also about testing. And finally, only at the end, it's about actual UI design, and also you need to think about accessibility in the same process as well. And finally, of course, product management is also working with technology and engineering, and it's much more than just writing software. It's about, first of all, technical specification and a lot of documentation. It's about API design. It's about software architecture and engineering. It's about testing, quality assurance. It's about developer operations, DevOps, monitoring, and sometimes it's also about hardware. Or if you are more a hardware startup, then it will be more about hardware than the software. So this is what, in my opinion, product management actually is: collaboration, intersection, communication, and enabling all those departments, teams work together, and of course moving all that into one direction. Make sure you have a focus and you innovate in the same time as well. You don't forget about innovation. Right next to business development, and why I want to talk about business development is because in my experience, again, how most of startups and also executives think when they want to start a new project and waste a lot of money, they think it's all about this product development, writing codes, shipping stuff, which is cool, of course. But before that, actually, I can tell you that every startup, every project is actually 50% business development and 50% product development. And what is business development, you might ask? So usually your chief executive officer should be responsible for business development, the director of business development, chief marketing officer, and all the other C-level executives from business team. While from product perspective, you have chief or should have a chief product officer who will be responsible for this product management process. And they always, as you can see, interact with each other. I would say at least 25% of business development is responsibility of product team, and at least of 25% of product development, especially UX, maybe research. It's also a bit of responsibility of business team as well. And knowing how to work together is critically important for success. So what is the business development? Again, in my experience, I've met so many people, and if you would say open angel lists, you will see that business developer are under sales category. And many people indeed think that business development is only about sales. But of course, no. And if you need a salesperson, then you need a salesperson, not a business development manager or a director or just maybe a business analyst, researcher. So business development actually is quite complicated process, contains a lot of stuff like you have to think about your goals, values, mission, vision, OKRs, objective key results, and your culture. You have to analyze lots. You start with your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You do market research, competitive research. You want to know who are your competitors. You can't even imagine how many times I started working with some new fresh startup or even with influencer who wants to throw a lot of money. And when I just ask first a couple of basic questions, who are your competitors? What are your goals, success metrics? They never ever can give me any answers, clear answers to those questions because they think that they just need to go straight to the product development without doing business development. And without knowing what you're doing, you might end up not where you might would like to end. But most of all, you might discover at the end that you have a competition, or maybe what you are building, people don't want it, or maybe you might figure out other issues at the end. To avoid those struggles at the end and wasting so much time and money, you always want to start with business development. It's all about strategy, planning, opportunity development, business model, thinking about, of course, cash flow. Sometimes, well, always it's also about thinking legal stuff, and especially if you are dealing with transactions like maybe marketplace, or you want to store credit card information, then you have to think about anti-money laundering, know your customer regulations, privacy. You also might think from consumer perspective why they should trust your new brand and give your sensitive data to you. If you would like to sell, for example, European market, then in Europe, product data privacy is extremely important, for example. You have to think about partnerships and how you will find them, who you will need to reach and partner with to succeed. You have to think about community. You have to build your community. You have to do marketing, of course. You have to do customer success. Of course, you have to also do sales event, and you need to think about PMF, which means product market fit. And finally, you also sometimes have to think about training. So going next to the product life cycle or a process, do we have any questions so far or maybe comments? If you have any questions, then please let me know in the chat. So here you can see approximately how product life cycle looks like. And I want to underline the cycle word here because it's not maybe a linear kind of waterfall process where you follow the same process all the time, A, B, C, and so on. It's a cyclic process. And when it comes to product process, it's basically a combination. It's a chain of those cyclic processes altogether. Well, maybe apart from defining your business outcome. So first of all, of course, you want to start with your goals. Then you go to opportunity development, which is, again, a cycle. Then you go to design sprints. After that, and only after that, you might go to detailed specification, UX mapping, UI design, and only after that you can actually start writing software, and only after that you will have launch of your MVP or a product feature. So first of all, you always want to start backwards. Imagine, close your eyes and imagine the future you want to be in. And now just challenge the present moment, where you're right now, where your team is right now. Who do you have? Who you don't have? What knowledge do you have? What you don't know? What resources do you have? And what you don't have? And from business management perspective, and all MBAs, for example, know this very well, but they always start backwards. Many people try to build plans starting from the present moment where they are right now, and they think about what should I do next? What should I do after this, that, and so on. The problem here is that it might not be clear for you that you are moving in the right direction, A. B, it might not be optimized. And what you want to do instead is imagine your goal at the end and You just walk one daily step by step backwards from your final goal, where you want to be. And in this case, the distance from your, let's say, -1 step to the final destination is very short and clear. And you will definitely see what you will need to do next to reach your next destination, the final goal. And then again, from -1 step, you go to the -2, -3, and finally, going backwards, you arrive to where you are today. And hence, you also, in the same time, made your plan how you will approach your startup or problem solving and how exactly you will reach your final destination. And here on the screen, you can see a couple of examples of what the specific business outcome might be. So it can be something very small, like especially when you're starting. Please, if you start and you always are small, nobody knows about you, you don't have many resources, millions in your pocket to throw all that into marketing, partnerships, and all that stuff. You will start very small, and your goals should be realistic. Something like maybe partner just these 5 YouTubers, maybe, or find 5 photographers, or get 100 new photographers to sign up and upload at least 5 photos, or just create a free Facebook community group and get 100 members into this Facebook group. Or if you want to think about sales, or especially maybe if you are freelancer, then probably your main goal would be get at least $10,000 a month, so you can maybe travel during the summer, for example, and just chill out. Or it could be a much more bigger and ambitious business outcome, your goal, like putting a human on Mars. Hello, SpaceX. Or it could be like a typical product management, goals, increase growth rate by 50% by Q2, and all those great numbers and all that stuff. So when you know your final destination, and only then you can start working on what I call an opportunity development, and basically what it means. Here's approximately the quote from one of my favorite product management books, let's say. Since the author of the ancient Chinese The Art of War book, which basically he said that if you don't know where you are and where is your opponent, if you know where you are and you know where is your opponent, your competition in our case, you have a chance to win. But if you don't know where you are, you don't know your strengths, weaknesses, what do you have, what do you need, what you don't need, you don't know competition, you don't know where is the opponent, then you will never win. It's very simple. That's why it's very important to start with business development and especially with opportunity development. And product management today is all about scientific approach. Everything, everywhere, always is a hypothesis. And you will hear word hypothesis quite a lot in product management those days. So what is opportunity development? Similarly to business development, is quite a lot. You need to think about defining user outcome, how you will connect our user outcome with the business outcome, how you will measure your user outcome. You want to define your clear offering. What exactly you can offer to your customers. For example, you are a freelancer, maybe you are good at writing code or designing or copywriting, social media marketing. Then this is what you can offer. And when you want to find a unique value proposition, what exactly will make you different from other, let's say, freelancers or startups on the market already, and how exactly you're going to connect your offering with the user outcome. Best way to start business development is with something called a business model canvas, which you will see in the next screen. It's also about brainstorming ideas, feedback, doing a lot of analysis, competitive market research, understanding your target customer, who exactly are you want to provide your offering to. Maybe, I don't know, you have experience, let's say, working with marketplaces, or maybe with influencers, or B2B, enterprises in business intelligence. So always know your offering and your target customer, and why you are the best one for this target customer, and why do they need to care about you, how you are different from them. You need to think about total addressable market, TAM, SAM, and SAM means serviceable, obtainable market. So it will be O. and total obtainable market and serviceable obtainable market. So basically, when you do market research, you kind of start from top-down approach. Approximately how many, maybe let's say, internet users they are in Hong Kong, for example. From there, you find how many people might be interested in what you can offer. From there, how many people are actually free, are not using your competitors, will be happy to use your specific unique features and all that stuff. So here is the business model canvas, and another mistake I've seen people be making is, well, maybe because of how this BMC was designed, which I don't agree with. So you actually start here in the right in the middle with your value proposition. What is this, your skill set, your knowledge, product, or a feature you want to offer, and how are you different? And when you go to your customer segments, for whom are you creating this value? Then you go to your customer relationships, channels, how you find your customers, how you will talk to them. And only after that, you jump to the left side and think about your partners, who you will need to partner with, or maybe freelancers, service providers like scientists, I don't know, designers, engineers, or maybe some suppliers, whoever else. What key activities you need to do and how you're going to do it. And at the end, what resources you will need to make it happen. You will need to buy maybe furniture, office, hire some people. You need this amount of money, capital. You will need to buy this software or intellectual property, and so on. And finally, think about your cost structure, how much actually it's going to cost. And finally, how exactly you want to make money. So business model canvas is basically a very short business model, business plan made in one day. So instead of wasting weeks on writing those long, boring business plans, you can just take business model canvas, fill it with your team, brainstorm it, and move, start developing your ideas, hypotheses from there. So how basically from top level picture this, let's say, effort is moving and outcome is moving and looks like. So you have your offering in the beginning, which could be your service, product, feature. And this, from there, you have user effort and motivation. So if user motivation is high, then you might, they don't need a lot of effort to, or they might even need to do a lot of effort to do what they want because they really want it. If their motivation is low, then they are not interested in doing a lot of effort. And in this case, user experience will be very important. From there, there will be a user outcome. And only after that, there will be a business outcome. And user outcome does not equal to business outcome. And if you plan to just maybe to ship a new feature and you think that it will affect this big business outcome at the end, it will not happen so easily. You will have to move slowly, step by step to the right from here. So going next to the design sprint, design sprint is quite interesting process invented by Google Ventures in Silicon Valley, which basically allows startups today to validate their hypothesis and even have a clickable, a real prototype and real customer feedback in less than 1 week. But of course, if you're not a Google, for you it might take maybe a couple of weeks, not 4 days. So as one wise man once said, you have to start with the customer experience first and work backwards towards the technology, similarly to how any executive business development process works, like always start from the end goal and work backwards from there. So the sprint is a process for answering critical business questions through design, prototyping, and testing ideas with real actual users. So you always want to validate your ideas, your hypotheses, and your assumptions. Again, a lot of people in my experience, and even influencers, executives, startup founders, they don't do this, and at the end they might figure out that what they do actually is not what people want. So even if it came, let's say, from your chief executive officer, it doesn't mean that what maybe works for your chief executive will actually work for your customer, because you always need to remember that you are building this value for customers, not for yourself at the end. So after opportunity development, your outcome should be strong opportunities you would like to move forward with. And you done your initial research, you know your customer, market, competition, and value proposition. And from there, you move this into design sprints. And design sprint starts with understanding, knowledge acquisition, customer interviews, thinking about user journey, mapping how user will arrive to final destination. It's about defining your solution and desired outcome. Make sure you will set your design sprint focus at this stage, and the rest of the team will follow the same focus until the end of the sprint. Then every team member sketch their solution, and then you can brainstorm it. And finally, you can decide, you can put your ideas sketched on the wall or as a stickers, and then your team members can just vote for solutions from those stickers, and then you decide which is the best solution, and then you move to the last stage, and you build an experience prototype. You need maybe tools like Figma or InnoVision. Again, you don't need to invest a lot of time on actually building a software. Today, anything is quite affordable, and even in case of Figma, it's even free. You can have a clickable prototype and show it even on your mobile screen like a real application, and just go to real customers or potential users and validate your hypothesis. So, and you might have three outcomes after design sprints. So the best outcome, of course, is people tell you that, hey, we like it, we need it, we are ready to pay for it. Also, never forget about asking the question, are you ready to pay for it? Because if you just ask people questions, do you like it? Or do you like to use it for free? Yeah, probably everybody will be happy to use it for free, but the real question is, are you ready to pay for it? And this question will actually validate your hypothesis and will tell you that it actually adds a real value, because a real customers, they will buy your ideas with their dollars at the end. The next outcome might be hypothesis invalidated. In this case, you have to start from the beginning. You go back to the opportunity development and you start doing a lot of research again, or maybe after design sprint you understand that what you actually wanted to build nobody wants, and then you just start thinking about totally new idea or startup. And in most cases, what will happen, you need some improvements, and again, you will in this case just adjust your design sprint, introduce those improvements, and we'll go through the design sprint again. So going next after design sprint, basically here, the main outcome is to validate your hypothesis and all your assumptions. And only after you validated your assumptions, you actually can start doing detailed planning, design, and actually building your MVP and launching your product or a feature. As another wise man said, a goal without a plan is just a wish. A lot of people, especially young founders, they talk about goals, 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 outcomes. We want to do this, we want to do that. But when I ask them questions, basically the pitch deck, product requirements document, business plan, or at least business model canvas, they actually don't have a plan. They want to get to some destination, but they don't know how to get there. And having a detailed plan for that is very important as well, especially in modern age when everybody needs developers, but finding great developers is very hard. B, it's expensive, and probably they are not interested in working with another small startup for much less than they could earn for working for a much bigger company. And if you invest more time in paperwork, research, planning, prototyping, design, you actually will save a lot of time from engineering side. And in this case, maybe if you did your homework very well, we can just hire the one freelance developer who just follow your plan, your instructions, your specifications, and maybe less than 1 week will give you this MVP you are looking for, instead of just going straight to developers without giving them a lot of plans and specifications and tell them, hey, we need to build this, and now you leave it up to developers to figure out how to actually do business for you. So you want to think about your roadmaps, ethics, themes, user stories. You want to design user flow. You want to design your elements. Of course, it's also about managing and building your backlog, managing your dev sprints, using Scrum or whatever else, maybe agile methods you prefer. It's about database design and architecture. It's about UI design. It's about design brief, information architecture, specifications, research, diagrams, flowcharts, a bit of business, marketing, budget planning, UI development, product requirements, documents, writing as well. Um, so let's talk a bit about product requirements documents, or PRD, or as I call it, a product requirements a folder, not actually one document. And why I call it a folder? So first of all, when I write PRD, I usually do it in Google Drive. I have just a folder. All team members have access to it. Freelancers, investors, maybe stakeholders, everybody has access to this folder. And I have a core document, a very short presentation about the products. And then I go deeply into specific sections of my maybe feature or product, and I extract into different documents, because you always want to include design, text, technical specification, and all that stuff, which at the end might get you to a very long document, and you really don't want to have a 100-page long PRD because nobody will actually read it today. So PRD is actually a visual presentation, not a boring document. So yes, I today create PRDs as Google Slides and not a Google document anymore. It definitely works much better, because today we live in an age of information where we have so much information, our brains are just overcrowded with different choices, and we just want to get things, understand the concept as fast as possible, and visual information works much better than a lot of text. PRD also is a living document. It's always changing. It's not a static document, okay? So a lot of people, they think they will just write PRD one time and that's it. No, it's always evolving altogether while the whole team and the product and the markets are moving forwards. And everyone is a user, not only PM writes PRD, actually everybody contributes to your PRD. So what exactly you can, what kind of documents you might need inside this folder. So of course it's your core PRD, which contains general description, whys, goals, metrics, and all that stuff. You can also have a pitch deck, especially if you're a startup. You can have a story map. You can have press releases, marketing, launch your plan, what will happen after you will ship your product. Database diagrams, models, tables, fields, clickable online UI prototype, or just a link to Figma, InVision, Marvel, or whatever tool you might use. Architecture diagrams, flowcharts, algorithms, assets like logos, graphics, color styles, all that stuff. Of course, roadmap is text translations and anything else. So what you can put inside PRD, of course, product title, short description, document version, author, contact details of the author, latest changes, history, because as I said, the document is always changing and you want to document all the changes. So, and the main reason I like using Google Drive is because when you open a folder, on the right column you can see latest activities and you will see if the document was changed. And another reason why I today separate big PRD into different documents is because it's again much easier to see which specific subsection, let's say document of PRD, was changed recently. If you just have one big document and you see, hey, something was changed like yesterday, you have to open documents, scroll maybe through tens of pages to find what exactly did change. So, of course, it's also about putting your product description, goals, what exactly you want to experiment with, to validate, what are your success metrics, your total addressable market, your serviceable addressable market, your serviceable obtainable markets, your competitive landscape, who are your competitors, and of course, how exactly you plan to make money, or even different hypotheses of how you plan to make money, like business model A, business model B, business model C, and so on. And you just at the end want to see which business model might be the best for you. But having as many options on the table is always better, of course. Of course, you also want to put personas, problems, needs, pains, gains, solutions for your core users, their flows, epics, themes, story map, site map, and your timeline, and also where you are right now and where you want to go next. You'll include at least maybe screenshots of your Figma or InVision prototype, or even put a link as well into this prototype at the same time. But I always recommend putting a screenshot of specific page into right page of PRD. So developers especially could just open one page and they would understand how it looks like, how it works like, and they could write a code in a couple of days instead of wasting time and finding all the information around so many documents. And finally, at the end, you also have to have a technical specification, which basically this is what I extract into different documents later. But at the beginning, you can start writing anything into one PRD, and later just move different sections into different let's say, smaller documents. So PRD is, in summary, a very short visual product presentation, okay, not document, presentation, and a summary which provides sources to the rest of the documents, detailed research, prototypes, tools, and anything else. And PRD is always in development and all teams contribute to it, not just PM. PM just helps team to collaborate and put anything into the right place, or at least PM just asks for feedback, reports from different teams and departments. Let's say summary from marketing team, from sales team, from tech team, design team, and then PM just puts all the summaries all together into PRD. So basically PRD is a set of summaries from different departments. And this is one core document you always want to have because it will help the whole team to speak the one language and to make sure that you are aligned and moving in the right direction. And when you onboard maybe a new team member or investor or a co-founder, you can just send them this one document and they will instantly understand what do you have, what do you build, what are your competitors, who do you have, what do you need, and all that stuff. So this was detailed planning and design. After that, you can move to finally writing the actual software, or maybe to be more specific, not a software, which again can be done in a couple of weeks today with a lot of free frameworks and libraries on the market. So, and again, writing software and even MVP is much more than just doing a bit of installation, configuration, and writing the software. I'm not going to go through this process today, of course, because we don't have the time and it's quite complicated, as you can see, but maybe at some point later we can have detailed a separated presentation for SDLC, which means software development lifecycle, and how to work with developers better. So after you've written your software, you deployed your software, you tested your software, you finally want to have a launch. And again, you need to have a plan, what you plan to do after the launch. And usually what good product managers are doing at the beginning, before actually doing all this, when you maybe starting opportunity development, product managers, they write, let's say, press releases, because, and you also probably want to tell the whole world about what is it you plan to do. And from psychological point of view, you are more likely to reach your goals if you told strangers about what do you want to do. And maybe before, let's say, building a marketplace for photographers, you just have a short press release, create a Facebook page, community group, and you inform people about your intention, and you have a short description about what do you plan to do, how it's going to work. And after this whole process, when you launch, then you update your press release, and finally you reach to maybe media, You go to product hunts and all those platforms where you can launch and get as much feedback as possible. You have to think about customer success, NPS, Net Promoter Score, maybe reviews, monthly active users, and all your success metrics. So basically, after you launch, now you want to actually measure for at least maybe 4 weeks. And after 4 weeks, let's say, to check your data and see that your hypothesis, which you kind of validated during design sprints, but what works, let's say, in the lab might not work in a real physical and real world. And you always want to make sure that you test anything in the real world. So the actual learning happens after you launch and measure your success. And if you got the results you expected, then okay, you can iterate, begin from scratch, and start focusing on this direction. If you didn't get results you wanted, then perhaps you have to pivot, change something, and start this process from the beginning. So going next to what product managers are doing, well, as somebody said, what product managers are not doing probably will be a bit more a specific question, because definitely PMs, as you can see, are doing a lot of stuff. And of course, you have quite a couple of types of product managers, and depending on your type or a role, you might be focused on a bit more specific tasks. But overall, as I told you at the beginning, the core concept and the need of any PM in the team is to enable innovation, collaboration, enable innovation, business development, smooth engineering process, smooth user experience, research, and all that stuff, and collaborate with the teams to make sure that you are aligned. So what makes a great product manager? In my opinion, something people call a unicorn. Basically, somebody who knows a lot about a lot. Basically, when it comes to PM, it's definitely very hard to find somebody who is a business owner, a marketer, a designer, an engineer in the one person. Somebody who is also in the same time is a subject matter expert. For example, you started maybe in, let's say, marketplace for photographers, and you want to find maybe a product manager who is at least a hobbyist photographer or maybe even a professional photographer, rather than somebody who just know how to do product management, but doesn't know the field, how photographers feel, what do they need, etc. Great product managers are also leaders and influencers. They are not really managers. They don't lead their team with authority. They lead with influence, and they help their team members to succeed. And in return, those team members help product manager and the whole team to succeed as well. In my opinion, we're also very curious people. We are dreamers, innovators, open-minded. We travel a lot, meet new people, attend meetups, conferences, learn about maybe history, different cultures, different pain points. And they are also very, very active users of many different products. So as I told you at the beginning, innovation happens when you combine different ideas. But first of all, you need to get those ideas somewhere. And the best way to do so is to go out there, jump outside your comfort zone and explore the world and learn what's out new is there on the market. How maybe, let's say, North American market is different from European market, and how it is different from Asian markets, and so on. They are also very demanding people, and they are really focused and say no quite a lot, because again, everybody comes to you with ideas. Can we do this? Can we do that? Yeah, they will give you resources, or you will explain why do we need it. Then yeah, maybe we can make it happen. But without research, no, we're not going to make it happen. I'm sorry. And I usually like to say, show me, don't tell me. And every team member always presents a short presentation to me. If it's maybe a business developer or maybe a business owner or even designer, engineer, if you want maybe a new feature, okay, great. If you're a developer, create this feature yourself and show me how it works. If you're a business developer, do a research, market research, give me some more numbers, and let's see if it sounds like actually worth our time and we can move this forward. If you just come to me and give me like words, then sorry, I will just tell you no right away. And today, PM is all about data-driven, task-driven, hypothesis-driven, and PMs, especially in Silicon Valley, they do experiments, so they don't rest words. And even if it's the order came from your business owner, chief executive, or investor, you today, especially today, should be really cautious about when you receive those words or assumptions from your business owners. We often think that how they what they think customer needs might not be what customer actually needs. And the main needs of PM in the team and why do you need a PM is actually to do this research, talk to customers, and to make sure that what you want to build, there's actually a need on the market for this, and you can provide a great solution. And also, best product managers, apart from being just task-oriented people, they of course have to find and optimize their time and think about beyond deadlines and the tasks. They need to think about innovation and vision strategy at the same time as well. So as I mentioned here, different PM archetypes might work with different tasks. And you usually today at least have two main types of PMs. What they call a product marketing manager, somebody maybe with marketing background who is focused on business side, who has business expertise and is responsible for product marketing, obviously. You have a general kind of technical product manager who is focused on product development side. And specifically, you might have a couple of, let's say, subtypes of a product manager here. You might have a technical product manager. If you maybe your team is quite good at business side, marketing, design, maybe even, and you feel that your developers and processes are not as good as you would like to, then you maybe need a technical product manager. If you have problems with design, maybe you need a product design manager. And finally, if you are struggling with innovation, which is not about startups, but if you are a bigger company or enterprise, then maybe you need some kind of innovation manager who will help you to transition into introduce you those innovative processes and teach you design sprints, business model canvases, product requirements, documents, and all that stuff, and how to make it yourself. We won't have time to talk about working with developers and why do you need a CTO or why you don't need a CTO actually. So let's go quickly to product management statistics and trends and why should we care about this presentation and why maybe you want to transition into product manager or why do as a company need to hire a product manager is because first of all, product managers, they have never ever been in much higher demand. And even worse, elite universities, schools, they are adding more and more product management programs. For example, Harvard Business School they have a product management program. You can even attend remotely product management programs in Silicon Valley or in London or in many other places around the world. And I can also tell you that actually product managers in the West earn about £100,000 a year, which is around, so let's say 1 million Hong Kong dollars a year. So, well, of course, maybe if we'll adapt it to, let's say, Hong Kong markets, Asian markets, it will be less than 1 million, of course. But nonetheless, it's still a lot of money. The biggest challenge for PMs, and I totally agree here, is internal politics and constraints from your top level exec team, your CEO, your investors. I always feel myself in a situation where they invite you to help them, let's say with you have knowledge, expertise, tools, processes to make A happen. And when it's right to help them to get to this they kind of give you constraints. They don't listen to you. They just kind of ignore you and tell you what you have to do, which is, if you know what you are doing and where you want to live, and maybe you don't need a product manager, a developer, a designer, you can just do it yourself. And if you want to work with product managers, if you want to succeed, while they definitely lead by example and without authority, unfortunately, especially when it comes to top level execs, they need some authority in the same time as well. If you just brought a PM on board to give you maybe some advice, that's fine. But if it's your full-time team member and you are serious about innovating, solving customer problems and moving forward, then you definitely need to trust your PM much, much more and delegate and give the PM authority to execute what PM needs. Strategy. Product managers don't spend enough time as they would like to because most of the businesses, VPMs, is just task-oriented people who do maybe research, write those documents, canvases, or whatever they might need. Also, almost half of executives actually don't know the business value of PM, and that's maybe why so many companies have kind of crappy product process or don't have it at all, don't have all the documents and research. Maybe because they don't know yet why do they need PM or what kind of business value PM will give them. However, statistically, product manager could increase profits of your company by 33%, by 1/3 basically, which is quite a lot. So yeah, investing in PM is definitely worth it, especially if you have no PMs at all. Another question quite asked a lot is, do I need to code to become a PM? As you can see now, only 5% of PM know how to code. However, in my experience, if you want to work especially in a tech-savvy startup like Google, for example, Microsoft, being more technical means being more successful. And at least, even if you don't know how to code well, you still should know the process and you should be able to communicate with your developers. And sometimes you also need to understand when your tech team tells you about shit, bullshit, when they maybe tell you it's not possible or they take like 1-2 months to make it happen. But if you have great technical backgrounds, you instantly know that it's possible to implement like in 1-2 weeks maximum. So having technical knowledge is quite important, but no, you don't have to have a technical expertise at least to become a junior product manager. And you could start maybe with product marketing manager maybe, and later transition into more technical product manager, and finally into senior product manager. Really do a bit of anything at the end. So majority of businesses, they don't have a PM process, which is another issue for PMs. You join maybe in your startup, new company, you ask for basic documents, research. No, they don't have anything you need. So, and in this case, you have to start doing a lot of job yourself eventually, and maybe train people, give them templates, and start solving this process and actually establishing a very good process, and to make sure that we all are aligned. I also have heard that some people think that tools are not important. Of course, it's all about people, but today, tools help you automate, they help you centralize anything in one place, they help you visualize, they help you provide intelligent data, especially in the age of artificial intelligence. There are today on the market new tools for PMs and for startups which will give you some insights without actually you doing basically anything, which is quite cool. So, which is also another maybe opportunity for startups. So if you plan to work on another productivity, product management startup, then again, there is a big demand for this. Yes, for sure. One of three companies have a massive backlog, which is another issue for PMs eventually. And in this case, you might need somebody with a strong technical background to solve this issue, or at least have a very good engineering manager or product owner, or a scrum master maybe at least. So, and today also more and more businesses thankfully have chief product officer. You need somebody, your product team, product managers, they need to report to actually a product person, not to marketing person, not to departments, not to chief executive who doesn't understand all this stuff. And having somebody responsible for product process in your enterprise or in your startup is extremely important for success. Today, it's also more about focus on customer engagement and retention, simply because we live in the world where I can just Google, find a new product, new service, and have much higher competition than ever, which also means much lower cost of switching for a user. If I'm using today, let's say Google Drive, I can switch, let's say, to Dropbox like in one day, and all my team can switch like in one day. So as a startup, you want to think about stickiness and what will make people stick to your platform and not to switch to your competitors. Today, of course, and I personally also respect people who get things actually done, not just people who give you dreams, who are so-called visionaries. Being a visionary is important, but being also a task-oriented person is much more important because at the end, somebody actually needs to write those documents, to train people, to lead the team into the one direction, and to make sure that nothing is missing. If you just need maybe to solve specific questions, then maybe you can just bring an advisor or a consultant or start slowly, especially when you are starting a new startup. You don't have money, expertise. You can just bring a part-time consultant who will help you move to the next stage and save you later a lot of time and money. And maybe later you might work with this consultant full-time, or just this consultant will help you hire a good or even train an in-house PM for you. Unfortunately, most PMs are too busy and fail to innovate. So there should be a balance between a task orientation and a vision. And solve these problems again. Tools are very important to boost your performance, to automate, and you also want to delegate as much as possible. From executives' perspective, there is a basic law of delegation. So if there is somebody in my team who can do what needs to be done, then I delegate. And only the rest of stuff, which nobody can do very well, I do it myself. So in the past, we were focused more on working with engineering and delivering features. So today it's about prioritizing alignment with marketing, user experience, customer success over engineering, and it definitely makes sense because today it's not about features, it's about helping customers succeed, and for that, today PMs definitely work much more with customer success and user experience design, marketing much more than with engineering, simply because maybe in the last 10 years, engineering fields became more autonomous and stable. They have agile processes, methods, tools, and anything seems to run very smoothly. However, innovation and alignment with design and marketing is still where we have a gap. And as we say in London, mind the gap between, in this case, between your marketing, customer success, and the rest of the team. In the past, it was also about words and intuition. Today, it's only about scientific approach. It's about research. It's about data. It's about validating your hypothesis, your assumptions, and it's also, as in software, they do a test-driven development. You now can also do a test-driven product development and management, and even test-driven product design. Basically, you can do test-driven anything, and it's quite important actually. Before investing a lot of time and money on actually building something big, you want to validate all your assumptions at the beginning as fast as possible. So in the past, how products were basically, we were thinking about how just to build and ship a product, which is nothing wrong with this, and we still do it, of course. But today, I want you to maybe close your eyes and imagine maybe, especially for those who have, let's say, iPhones, and imagine last time you were in maybe Apple Store or how you bought maybe a new iPhone. And probably you will think about this experience much more than just iPhone itself. It's about Apple Store, experience inside Apple Store. It's about how Apple markets products, how it tells a story. It's how Apple distributes iPhones or any other products, and how it makes it sticky. So today, you definitely want to think much more about how you want to market your product and deliver your message, how you want to distribute your products, and most of all, how you want to make them sticky in the age of competition, unfortunately. So, and having this full experience beyond just a product is extremely important. That's why it's also very important to think about marketing and customer success, what after launch actually should happen. Not like in the past, you just need to ship something, tell people, send them cold email, and that's it. It doesn't really work anymore today. In the past, and unfortunately still even today, a lot of companies prioritize recurring revenue, um, how much money they make. Of course, for most of the businesses, and especially for all investors, it's all about money. Nothing wrong with that. However, I guess I won't tell you a big surprise if I will tell you that customer sats, as they call it at Apple, which means customer satisfaction and customer success, leads to revenue because people vote for your offering with their dollars in the end. And if customers are happy, satisfied, and you help them succeed, you added value to their lives, and only then they will pay you, and only then revenue will go up. If you still prioritize making money instead of thinking about how you can help users, then I would advise you definitely to think about this differently. Also, in the past, as I mentioned, we were delivering what businesses or especially owners believed customers needed. So again, maybe you might be an expert in some fields, but it's your personal experience, and you're only one person, and you probably won't be actually buying for your or paying for your own product, and you want to make sure that you go out there into wild worlds and you talk to real people, to real customers, and you also respond to your customers' feedback and needs, and you actually do what your customers want. But of course, at the same time, you don't want to forget about innovation. As another one wise person once said, if let's say 100 years ago, you would ask people regarding transportation, what do you want? They probably will tell you the faster horses. And if you try to sell a car 100 years ago, they probably would look on you like a crazy person. So sometimes it's about innovation and not listening to customers, and at the same time teaching markets, educating markets, why do they need your car instead of horse, for example. So, and let's finalize this presentation. I'm sorry we are a bit over time. So, and let's finalize this with some couple of tools and short product plan you can download and to use if you plan to launch something new yourself. So, here are a couple of products often used, at least in North America and UK. And you always want to start with the Facebook page and community group and link your group with the Facebook page. You can also, I would recommend today creating a YouTube channel as well, because nobody really wants to read your blog anymore. I want to watch a short, straight to the point video, which will help me understand who you are, what do you do, why should I care about you. And finally, it will help you to do a free marketing, which you need at the beginning when you don't have any money and traction. So another my favorite tool is Notion. Basically, imagine a trailer meeting Google Docs and Dropbox. It's a very amazing, flexible tool which you can use for free as well. So I switched from Trello last year, and now I use only Notion also for my personal projects or any other crazy ideas or topic list or what do I plan to read maybe or anything else. Slack is another very important tool. I've seen it especially in Hong Kong. I don't know why many people are afraid of using Slack, early stage startups. However, if you want to work productively with different departments and different teams, you having just WhatsApp group is not enough, because you at the end will have many people in one channel, and it will be just too spammy and it will be hard to later find information. It's also much harder to integrate many tools into WhatsApp, while it's much easier to do so with Slack. So with Slack, you create a couple of channels like maybe business development, design, engineering at least. And you can also integrate tools like GitHub, GitLab, Jira maybe for developers into dev channel, let's say, some maybe InVision, Figma, into design channel, your social media channels, and anything else you can automate into, let's say, marketing channel. And finally, when you build your software, you can also ask developers to integrate specific events with your own Slack as well. Especially at the beginning, you want to receive a notification to your own Slack team when something happens, like maybe a new user made an order, or a new, let's say, partner signs up, or a new admin deleted the page or something. And how cool it could be if you could just have your Slack with all those integrations on your mobile phone and receive all those notifications as soon as something happens with your own startup. So unfortunately, you cannot really do this with WhatsApp. So that's why having a Slack is quite important. So another amazing tool for UI prototyping is Figma, which you can use for free. InVision, for example, is not available for free, while Figma, you can do it even right in your browser, where you can make very fast, easy, simple, clickable prototypes yourself. G Suite, of course, Google Drive, where you can share documents, presentations. We can also create surveys like Google Forms and send them to the people. Zoom for calls, meetings, and even webinars. Loom for screen and video recording. So again, when you have some kind of feedback, it's always much better to make a short Loom video and send it to maybe an engineer or a designer or a business person, instead of just telling, hey, I have this issue, Bob, can you help me? Yeah, sure. Can you tell me maybe more where exactly, or maybe can you share your screen? Instead of this, you can just record your screen, 30 seconds, and upload a little video, let's say, into Slack channel or into a private message to a specific person. Miro is a real-time collaboration board, which is also available for free. Draw.io available for free when you want to have some diagrams, and you always want to have diagrams. Or if you want to be more professional, then Microsoft Office will work definitely much better. Another amazing tool I like is Craft.io. Basically, it's something like new Jira for product managers and developers, basically for the whole team. It's very modern and amazing all-in-one product management, sprint planning, development tool, which unfortunately is not available for free. Air Focus for roadmap and prioritization, which also will save you a lot of time and will give you some visual insights, especially if you're IPM. You will instantly see what you want to prioritize. And Product Board for customer feedback. The last two are not free, unfortunately. And so finally, Product Plan, which I usually recommend following if you want to start something new or change what you are doing. So you always start with defining a specific business outcome. Then you fill a business model canvas. Then you go to the market research and competitive landscape. You want to know your total addressable market, your serviceable addressable market, and your serviceable obtainable market at the end. You want to clearly define your target customers and your personas and core user flows and experiences, their problems, and how exactly you plan to help them. Also, always create and configure G Suite, Notion, Slack at least. Invite your advisors, consultants, team members, co-founders, whether you have or don't have. And make clickable Figma prototype and start now anything, put anything into PRD now, product requirements documents, or a folder in my case. And finally, launch your audience. Create a Facebook group and page, LinkedIn page and group. Build your brand awareness first and get free marketing. Talk to people face to face on streets, attend events, meetups, get real customer feedback, and send them your surveys with Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, or all those tools which we can use for free. After that, validate your hypothesis by again talking to customers, showing them your Figma prototype. And only after that, you might need more engineering help and to build your MVP. I want to underline what might here. If you validated your hypothesis, it doesn't mean you might need to hire maybe engineers, find a CTO and move forward. Maybe what you have already is fine. You can slowly do it yourself. Or maybe you want to change something first of all before actually doing very task-heavy and expensive work. And finally, you want to launch, test, learn, and you iterate again and again. So MVP, which means minimal viable product, basically is a physical representation which helps you validate your hypothesis on the real physical world. So at the beginning, it was just maybe a clickable basic prototype or just a sketch with some feedback. And now here is a real MVP where you want to get some real feedback and finally get some revenues and many active users before actually seeking for investment. A lot of people, they just maybe did business model canvas, business plan, and they want to find investment. Unfortunately, no investors will not help you in this case until you don't have enough money coming into your business, or at least a lot of users and traction. So takeaway, finally, we talked today about what is product management, how process looks like, what is business development, and why should we care about it. And the main advice always is launch your audience before launching your product or a feature. It's not just about a product, it's also about a feature as well. If you're maybe even a big company, you plan to launch a new feature, you still want to reach some maybe existing customers, to find new customers and see if there is a demand for this new feature, not just a product. Always do research and validate your assumptions at the beginning. Define your specific business outcome and success metrics. How do you plan to measure those metrics? Optimize and update your product documentation and processes. How you as a team collaborate, innovate, work together to make sure that you are aligned, focused, and moving in the right direction, and you don't waste a lot of time and money. And another advice from a lot of investors, including Y Combinator, is you might have a great team, you might have a great execution, but market is always a king. Bad product with a bad team in a good market has much higher chance to survive and thrive rather than a good team, good product in a bad market. So you always want to start with finding a good market, doing research first on building MVP in this market, and iterate to validate your assumptions and pilot change until PMF, a product market fit. And only after that, you might start growing, hiring more people, and fundraising. Before product market fit, nobody is advising you to invest a lot of money and hire more people and start growing. A lot of people, they try to grow too fast before they actually will reach product market fit. So don't hire and grow before product market fit, and in my opinion, also before actually don't start seeking for investment as well. Okay, so sorry for a bit over time, but I do believe, and according to some feedback in the chat, you were really excited about all this stuff. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to go deeply through so many topics I would like to talk about, but maybe later we can do so for sure. So again, thank you very much. So my name is Mevrel, and I'm executive product leader with more than 10 years of experience in building products. And for the last 5 years, I work mostly with startups, especially with marketplaces and with influencers, and a bit with high-end brands, a bit of luxury brands as well. And for those who are joining from maybe Europe or America, Accelerate is an amazing, let's say, coding bootcamp school which teaches people in Hong Kong how to code, how to do data science, and they teach you a lot of amazing stuff. So, and they are definitely one of the best, maybe even in Asia today. And demand in software engineers, in designers, in data scientists is growing, not just in Hong Kong, but overall in Asia. and Accelerate probably is the best way for you to get there, to enroll into the program and to learn a lot of amazing stuff from a lot of amazing and experienced instructors and get your certificates. And they also will help you to find a job, maybe not just in Hong Kong, but also abroad as well. So thank you very much for joining us today. And so now, if you have any additional questions or comments, please let me know in the chat. And I will check what we have right now. So the first question we have, where do you think a product owner fits into the equation? And can the PM act as a product owner if there is nobody able or willing to take on the role in the team? It's a very good question. So, and a lot of people also confuse product owners with product managers. So as you can see, as you've seen, a product manager is responsible for the whole process from idea, things about marketing, how product will be marketed, what will make your product sticky, how you're going to sell the product, what is your value proposition, how are you different from the competition, how to do a lot of market research, UX research, and collaborate with engineers, designers, marketers, customer success team, and all stakeholders all together. While product owner is basically responsible more for product development, more of technical side, kind of managing maybe your sprints, backlog, engineering process team. So ideally, I always prefer to have both product owner or maybe engineering manager or a scrum master and a product manager. However, if you may be a small startup and you don't have enough resources, then any great PM can do product owner's job as well and can manage your tech team, manage your scrum processes, your sprints for sure. And maybe in this case, for beginning, I would advise bringing into the team a more technical product manager who knows software development lifecycle, how to manage agile, scrum, sprints, backlog, and all that stuff. So to summarize all this again, if you can afford them both, then yes, for sure, you do so. And PM is basically sits there in the middle, kind of leader, collaborating with all departments, including engineering department, let's say, where product owner might be responsible for, and product owner might report to a product manager in this case, for example. So always try to afford both if you can. If you can't, then just in this case, try to bring on board a technical product manager who will be able to do a product owner's job at the same time. Does this answer your question, Mr. Middle-aged man with a movie camera? So, if you have any other questions or comments or feedback, anything else you would like to talk about, maybe, or anything else you would like me to explain a bit more? Okay, guys, so maybe you can tell me in this case our chat is quite boring. Let's be a bit more active. And can you maybe give me any feedback? Or how do you feel about this presentation? Have you learned something new? Was it exciting for you? Would you like to have more of this stuff? Would you like to become a product manager yourself, maybe even? Or where are you right now? Are you in Hong Kong? Are you in London? Are you somewhere in Europe? Are you in, I don't know, in Canada or in Southeast Asia or anywhere else? Yeah, and right now, for example, myself at WeWork office in Warsaw in Poland, in Europe, since I like traveling a lot. So as I know, we have a lot of people visiting from Hong Kong. at least one person I know from Portugal, a couple of folks from London, across Europe and Canada as well, but I do believe in Canada it's a bit early, so they will just watch recording of this stream a bit later. So, okay, I guess you all enjoyed this presentation, and while we are still here, maybe you have any questions you might have about maybe Accelerate. Lavin is in chat, who is the founder and CEO of Accelerate. So maybe you would like to learn more about what Accelerate is doing or what's coming up with Accelerate. Or maybe you would like to become a software developer, a data scientist, or a product manager. So do you have any questions to Accelerate? Or any feedback? Even if you have a bad feedback is always good as well. And I always like receiving feedback and even criticize. And when people criticize, it's always good because it helps you to improve. However, there is a difference between, say, just blaming and providing constructive feedback. So maybe instead of telling somebody, especially maybe if you are using products like Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, or maybe some mobile app, and you often maybe have bad experience, instead of just blaming the team, hey, this doesn't work for me, you are crap, try to be more constructive and tell them how do you feel and how do you see it could be better. So how it could be better, it's one very important part of constructive feedback. People, unfortunately, forget include into this feedback, and they often just tell you, I don't like this, I don't like that, or I would like to have this, that, and the more you can provide, the more you can actually influence as a consumer yourself. In my experience, for example, I often reach to startup founders of any, for example, platforms, products I'm using myself. If I don't like something or I want to improve something, I always reach out to them or send them my email with ideas and feedback and how I see they could do it better. And very, very often, it helps them to actually implement it, and I, as a consumer, as a customer, happy to see this implemented. So if you, as a consumer, want to improve, let's say, the world or some products you are using, or teams or people you work with, they always provide a constructive feedback and try to influence those people instead of just providing bad feedback, let's say, and throwing words away. Okay, I guess that's it. So if we don't have any questions anymore, then thank you very much for joining us today. It was a great pleasure for me presenting product management introduction for startups in Hong Kong for you, in partnership with Accelerate, which is amazing and probably one of the best coding bootcamps who teach people how to code, do data science. It's not just in Hong Kong, but in Asia as well. And so again, thank you very much. And I think definitely, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe next month, we might have another presentation. And so in this case, we definitely will let you know about this. So, and again, folks, thank you for joining us today. And if you are in Hong Kong or in Asia, have a great evening. If you are in Europe, have a good afternoon. And thanks again, guys. Cheers. Take care.